Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. I don't even care if Vic Fangio sucks because he's already won my entire heart over Perna. I saw that Zach Stevens tweeted this from Fangio's press conference this week. Vic Fangio will continue coaching from the sideline despite saying, "You just don't see as much from the sideline. I'm used to seeing everything. I want everything. I want all the meatballs and the pasta." To be honest, I'm not really sure what this means, but no one said that Italian metaphors are as good as Italian cooking. I've got Broncos news to cover today. Players are getting released for the sensitive. Elway's quarterback trade talks with the 49ers and the sexual harassment suit that will surely be heading Mike Kliss's way as soon as Joe Flacco comes to his senses. Let's get sports. Don't forget, Broncos fans, your 8-bit helmet shirts are in my t-shirt store below right here. Also, today's episode is sponsored by the best pew ball trimmers on earth, Manscaped.
You already know about some Manscaped products like the Lawnmower 2.0 for body hair trimming with skin-safe technology so you don't nick your nuts or nipples. Speaking of which... better. Just the way my wife likes it. But Manscaped.com is about providing total body maintenance, keeping your skin and man hair cleansed and trimmed from head to toe. Literally. Now with the Foot Duster Foot Spray. This is my right foot. I call him Righteous, and I spray him once a day. This is my left foot. I call him Daniel Day-Lewis, and I spray him once a day. Not only does the Foot Duster keep your feet from smelling like disgusting feet, but it reduces bacterial microorganisms on the skin, features pH control, and is composed of all natural ingredients like tea tree oil, which helps repair dry skin. Plus, pro skater Windsor James endorsed it, so I'm assuming it makes you good at skateboarding too. Oh, yes it does.
Use my promo code GOODSPORTS or the link in the description to save 20% off at manscaped.com. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. I did not review the Broncos-Rams game. I'm sorry, but a couple things happened, okay? The game sucked, and Andrew Luck retired. I ran out of time. I apologize for not going balls deep into the Kevin Hogan and Brett Rippin tape. What I did do was watch the 9 News pregame with Mike Kliss and saw him hit on Joe Flacco on television and then witnessed Joe Flacco actually enjoy the come on.
There's a lot of you rolling out there, a 6'6" Joe Flacco versus the Kyler Murrays of the world,
Yeah, I know.
It's quite the sight out there.
Believe me, I know. Hey, that's just what it is.
Hey, that's just what it is. I'm a tall drink of water, and if you want a drink, I ain't necessarily saying no, Mike.
Yeah, I know.
It's quite the sight out there.
Believe me, I know.
I'm glad Flacco appears confident, seems ready to go, because Kevin Hogan and Brett Rippin did not give me confidence if something were to happen to Joe Flacco. We know Drew Lock is recovering from his thumb sprain and won't be ready to play for a bit. Drew Lock's injury is exactly why John Elway, and this is according to Nate Burleson of the NFL Network, approached the 49ers about a trade for Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard. Basically, Elway was like, give me whoever the fuck you don't want. The 49ers denied Elway, saying they are keeping all three quarterbacks right now. However, many 49ers insiders believe they may only keep 2 this season. Makes sense. That's what Mike Shanahan usually did. If they do decide to go with 2, they will be cutting a guy. So why not make a trade? Get something in return for a player you will release anyway. Mullins or Beathard. They are great candidates for the Broncos due to the similarities of offensive scheme, and they both are familiar with Rich Scangarello, who was the QB coach there last season. Now I'm just guessing here, but if a guy gets dealt, I think it will be CJ Beathard. Better name for me to combine with Chubb, and I think Nick Mullins is the better quarterback with the bigger upside, which is why he would stay in San Francisco. So this is just something to watch as teams trim their rosters down to 53. Philip Lindsay, he takes a lot of heat for being a small dude in the NFL. I take a lot of heat for being a small dude in real life. We're the same size, so I sympathize with Lindsay. But after seeing him shake hands with the Rams before the preseason matchup, I think he's actually pretty fucking big. The Rams got to the Super Bowl with the smallest roster in NFL history, and nobody thought that was worth mentioning? And as much as it pains me to say this, I think Aqib Talib has passed his peak. I also read that Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and Matt LaFleur all stated that Vic Fangio's defense is the hardest to read and attack. Maybe that's because he has really bad handwriting, like a doctor. That's what happens when you get a PhD in defense, or really anything. You forget how to write words legibly. Just last week, I turned in a prescription at the pharmacy that they thought said Viagra. I said, no, you idiots, that clearly says Cialis. They looked so stupid. Not as stupid as I looked after immediately popping the boner pills before realizing I had several errands to run that day. It's just a habit, like trying to get an antibiotic in your system as soon as possible. Long story short, I am no longer allowed to shop at King Soopers. Earlier this week, the Broncos released defensive lineman Zach Kerr, outside linebacker Dekoda Watson, and per his own request, wide receiver Nick Williams. All guys were let go early to give them the best chance to get a look by another team before all major roster cuts are being made. Maybe that Viagra fucked up my mouth words. Jesus! It was Cialis, wasn't it? Broncos insider Michael Kliss, after blocking Nikki Jabala on Twitter, used the platform to defend John Elway's decision to cut both players, citing Pat Bowlen's philosophy of running the team with his heart and not his pocketbook, which is a weird thing to cite after the heartless act of cutting two players everyone thought would definitely be on the team, after the Broncos gave up a draft pick for Watson and signed Kerr to a new 2-year deal this offseason. Then Kliss said the Broncos saved $3 million in cash by releasing the two players, completely negating his previous tweet. Hey Mike, it's me, John. I've got to cut Zach Kerr and Dekoda Watson today for financial reasons, but I need you to make it look like it wasn't about the money. Do that for me today, Mike, or I swear to God, I will hire Brandon Perna to be my new puppet and swiftly block you on Twitter. A job I would gladly accept, by the way, Mr. Elway. Nose tackle Mike Purcell had a great preseason, and he is the main reason Zach Kerr became expendable. Purcell dominated the line of scrimmage in the Rams game, played in 103 snaps so far, and has the second highest defensive grade from Pro Football Focus on the Broncos defense. Purcell was a guy I was excited to discuss before Andrew Luck retired, which is really selfish of Luck to not consider how his retirement could affect Mike Purcell's coverage here on That's Good Sports. In addition to Purcell, DeMarcus Walker also playing well on the defensive line, and so is Deshaun Williams. The D-line could be the best it's been since 2015. Now, I saw a post in the Broncos Reddit showing that Walker has a sack, 2 QB hits, and 8 QB hurries, and 70 pass rushing snaps this preseason. Putting Walker in the right place on the D-line and finally getting productivity out of the second-round pick probably indicates the new coaching staff actually understands football compared to the last regime. Outside linebacker Malik Reed's dominant play and investment in Justin Hollins through the draft is probably why Dekoda Watson had to go. Neither of them currently has the special teams presence of Watson, but they're cheaper. They both have high ceilings and could perform well when Von Miller and Bradley Chubb need a quick breather. Denver may also be trying to find room to add another inside linebacker as they are uncertain about the timetable for Todd Davis's return from his injury. This was one of the reasons I was on board with the Broncos taking Devin Bush with the 10th pick in the draft. And that is not to say anything about Noah Fant one way or the other, but Bush has looked great in the preseason for the Steelers so far, and it was a position of need for the Broncos. Obviously, tight end was too, and tight ends have also been dropping like flies, which we knew would happen. But there was investment there already with the re-signing of Jeff Hireman, plus using draft picks on Jake Butt and Troy Fumagalli. Either way, the Broncos still need help in the middle. That's part of the reason why safety Jamal Carter has been playing linebacker. One option would be Kiko Alonso of the Dolphins, who are looking to move some of their veterans as part of their quest to tank. Dolphins in a tank. He would cost $6 million though against the cap, and the Broncos currently only have $2 million to work with. Then again, maybe that's why they let Watson and Kerr go. The biggest issue with Kiko Alonso is his bloodlust for Joe Flacco's fucking face. I haven't seen someone go after Flacco that hard since Mike Kliss. There's a chance Joe Flacco has no memory of the vicious hit Kiko laid on him, which would make their ability to work together on the same team much more feasible. Without an addition of a veteran player, AJ Johnson could be starting at middle linebacker week 1.
And welcome to a new segment called Everything But, the most appropriately titled Jake Butt segment on the internet. After finally getting some playing time, Jake Butt's knee has swelled up again, and the Broncos aren't sure he'll be ready to start the season. And they're also considering placing him on IR if he's not ready to go, with the possible comeback after week 8. Everything But will continue to monitor Jake's progress, as that's all we care about here.
Les Shapiro tweeted that the Broncos are currently in negotiations with a local company for the naming rights of the stadium. Colin Daniels from South Stands, who has been known to break a story every now and again, thinks that the company that will land the deal is Colorado-based Dish Network, the only company on earth with a stricter drug policy than the NFL. Dish famously fired Brian Coates, a quadriplegic, for using medical marijuana prescribed to him by his doctor. Can you imagine being so rigid in your beliefs that you fire a quadriplegic for using medical marijuana? I can't, and I'd be a little pissed if that's who lands the naming rights. Also, it's an inferior cable provider. The irony in Colorado between a weed legal state where fans have been clamoring for a weed company to get the naming rights to the stadium only to see it go to the biggest anti-weed employer in the state so we can call it Dish Stadium, which is one table setting away from being Bowl Stadium, is a coincidence. Alternatives though. People forget Crocs is a Colorado-based company. The shame of Colorado is what we call Crocs. Crocs Stadium, where all players have to wear Croc-built cleats, would be fucking terrible but hilarious. So I stand by my original idea that the 27th biggest company in Colorado, John's Manville, should win the bid. Sure, John's Manville Stadium sounds like the biggest gay nightclub on earth, but it also sounds like the most masculine stadium in the NFL. Welcome to John's Manville, prepared to get pounded. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, @BrandonPerna. If you want to follow me there and talk football, you can do it. Also, make sure you give @WillKey6 some love on Twitter. Without Will, I would be doing, well, the same thing, but just not as good.